All right, in this video, we are going to work through a method that uses, or an example that uses value methods. Okay, so this example says, write a program whose main method prompts the user to enter the radius and the length of a cylinder as doubles. Okay, it says the program should contain two other methods, one to compute the area of a circle and the other to compute the volume of a cylinder. The first method should have one parameter for the radius and then compute and return the area of the circle. Second method should have two parameters, one for the area of the base of the cylinder and the other for the length of the cylinder. Excuse me. It says the second method should compute and return the volume of the cylinder. The program should use all three methods. The main method should display the results to the user. The needed formulas are A equals pi r squared, V equals A times L. Sample run of the program is on the following slide. Okay. All right. So I'm going to use scanner again. So the class header, public class, let's see, area, volume, and then a main method, public static void main string args. All right, it says the main method should prompt the user to enter the radius and length of the cylinder as doubles. Okay, so I'm going to set up a scanner object. All right, and then prompt the user system. I'm just going to do them one at a time. Enter the radius of the base of the cylinder. And then it says to store it as a double. So we're going to declare a variable named radius of type double, and then whatever the user types in, right, we are going to store it in, use the next double method, right, to get that and then store it in there. And so something very similar for the length. Okay, so we would do system.out.println, enter the length of the cylinder, and same thing we did before, just with a new variable called length. All right, let's just test that and make sure everything's okay so far. Okay, everything looks good. All right, it says the program should contain two other methods, one to compute the area of a circle and the other to compute the volume of a cylinder. All right, so two methods, one for area, one for volume. All right. All right, so just for right now, our methods will all have public and static. The return type is the next thing that we need to decide on, and that will be doubles, right? With the formulas that they've given us, pi times the radius squared, and then the area times the length. Those values being doubles, and these values are going to be doubles. Okay, so then this one I'll call compute area. All right, and let's see, the formula is pi times the radius squared, okay? So in order to make the calculation for the area, right, I would definitely need to know what the radius is. All right, so I need a parameter here. I'm just going to use radius again. If you didn't watch the previous video in the temperature conversion, example, then you probably should watch that. But the it is okay to have this variable radius here because of the fact that the scope of it is limited to this block, and then the scope of this parameter is going to be here, right? So there's no confusion. So it's okay to have radius there as well. All right, so it's math.pi times the radius squared. All right, so that will square the radius, and then times it by pi, and then that will return store the value in a variable called area. And let's see what else. All right, it says it should compute and return the area of the circle. Okay, so next up would be to return the area. All right. So far so good on that. And then we want another method called compute volume. And what does it say about it? It says the second method should have two parameters, one for the area of the base of the cylinder and the other for the length of a cylinder. All right, so some people will take a look at this and say, hey, well, why is it set up like that? And the answer is that, well, that's just how they wanted this program to go, or this problem to go. You might disagree with how it's set up and want it to be, some other way, and think that other way is better or preferable to what they've got. And you might be right. In fact, you'd probably be right on this one if you're having those kinds of thoughts. So, but nevertheless, right, this is what the example says to do. So that's the way that we are going to do it. Okay. So this second method should have two parameters, one for the area and one for the length of the cylinder, right? Because that's what it asks for, okay? All right, and then we return the volume, which is the area times the length, okay? We could do like we did here and do that, but really if that's all this does, we can just kind of return this calculation, right? So before, up until now, when we've had examples of the return statement, we've kind of always done things like this, right? Put it in a variable and then just return the value of that variable, and that's fine. There are lots of times when you want to do things that way, but for something really kind of this simple, there's no reason why you can't just do the calculation right here and then return it, okay? Because that's the one job of this function this method is to compute and return the length or the volume of this cylinder. Okay. It says the main method, so I think we've gone all the way through here. It says the main method should display the results to the user. Okay. All right, and so let's take a look at that second slide. In that second slide, it says, all right, so we have this, so we just print out the area and the volume. So let's do that. All right, so going back up here to the main method, we have system.out.printf. Let's see the message again. The area of the base is whatever units. Area of the base is blank units. And it looks like they rounded that to 2 decimal places. So let's do that. And let's not forget to put a %n here to make it go to the next line, but not there. I want it here. Okay, and then what do we want to put in this blank? We want to put the area, right, of that here. Okay, so in this case, we're going to have to compute the area of that. So we could put a method called here, compute area, but in the next line we're going to have to pass that value again here. So rather than do that, I am going to go and just go ahead and calculate the area ahead of time. Double area equals compute area. Okay, and whatever the radius is, right? So the radius up here that I need to send down to this method is also called radius. So I would just put that variable in the parentheses. And so whatever the user types in for the radius, it's going to be stored in this variable. Then it's going to take that value and pass it down here to this. This method is going to do the computation of the area. The area is going to get sent back. And here, it's going to replace all of this. And then that's going to get stored in the area. So you print the area out here. All right, let's try that. And what is the test case here is 5.5 and 12. All right, it says the area of the base is 95.03, and that should be square units, right? Yeah, that looks good. Okay, so far so good. Next up, we need to print out the results for the volume. It says the volume is whatever cubic units. And it looks like it's rounded to 1 decimal place, so we'll put a 0.1 there. And remember, this %n just goes down to the next line. All right, and so now what we need to do is to call this method, right? Because we haven't done that yet. All right, so and that value is going to go in here. And this is basically the last line of our program, right? So we don't need to use it anytime after this. So I'm going to approach this one by just calling the compute volume method directly here. So this the value that gets returned, it won't be saved like it was here in a variable. But again, this is the last line of the program, so we don't need to save it for anything. All right. As opposed, and so now what we've got to send is the area, and so that's why I saved the area in a variable here, right? So that we didn't have to do it twice. Now this is not a super, complicated program, so it's all right if you put put the method call here and here, but you are kind of doing the same calculation like twice in a row. So that's why I chose to save the area in a variable, because I'm using it in this line and in this line. Whereas here, I'm just computing the volume just to get the number, and then that's it. Okay. All right, so this one, in this method call, I also need to put the length. So that will send the area and the length down here, and it will compute that out. Okay, so let's test that out. All right, and what's our little test case here? 5.5 and 12 again. So 5.5 and 12. And I get the volume is 1,140.4 cubic units. Yep, there we go. All right, and so that's it on this example.